Welcome back, everybody, to Vorello Vision. I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Herb Lipsman, who's doing amazing work in their field and industry, which is health, fitness, and wellness space. Thanks for joining me, Herb. For those who may not know you yet, can you give
Can
an
I cut in for just a second? I hate to do this to you.
yeah,
It's Herb, not
Herb?
Herb.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
awesome.
Got it.
Can you give us a quick background on who you are and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I am the CEO of a new company called SOZO Clubs Inc. And I've been working for about 3 years with two other longtime industry experts and colleagues on this concept. And about 8 months ago, I left my other full-time job to go full-time as the CEO of this startup company. SOZO Clubs is going to be a very, very different category of what we're calling social wellness and longevity health clubs. And when I say it that way, we're going to be catering to adults age 30 to 75 plus. So we're in it, and we all have kids and grandkids, so we're not against kids, but we want this to be kind of a sanctuary for folks in those more mature age groups. And we don't think the industry is really focused on that right now, although everybody has senior programs and that kind of thing. But our clubs are going to appeal to the young 30 something up and comer, all the way up to the 70, 80-year old who's wanting to continue to live vibrantly in the later years of their life. And our
Yeah.
clubs will have, really luxurious fitness and wellness amenities, but we'll also have several really non-traditional kinds of activities and programs that we offer our members.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I really like how you guys stand out from the crowd in terms of the age group, right? We don't see a lot of people in the industry doing that. I know, especially in my very small town area, um, not too many, you know, luxury places anyways, right? So when you have luxury and amenities plus, certain age groups, if it welcomes a certain niche of people, and that, can really narrow down who you have there, right? Um, what all things are going to be included in Sozo Clubs? Like, if you could get specific with it.
There's going to be indoor and outdoor lap pools, indoor and outdoor pickleball courts. There's going to be very spacious and well-appointed fitness workout areas. There's going to be multiple group exercise studios for all different kinds of classes. We're going to have a longevity spa that will marry traditional spa services like massage and facials and that sort of thing with medical spa treatments, IV drips and red light therapy and cryotherapy and those kinds of services. We're going to have a performing arts theater, and we're going to be running uh, continual throughout the weeks, different kinds of local talent shows, whether it's theatrical performances, musical shows, comedy acts, TED style talks, all those kind of things to bring in the non-exerciser to the club.
Mhm. Absolutely. Would you say the goal for the, I know like the TED Talks and stuff, I know there's a certain different part of it. Would the goal be to try to get those people to transition over to the exercise part as well?
Yes, in the statistics say that only 25% of the adult population in the US belongs to a gym or health club. And that's the highest penetration rate it's ever been. So the industry as a whole has done kind of a dismal job of attracting what I call the non-exerciser, the person that, they just don't feel comfortable in the gym setting. And so we think that we can get them in there for other kinds of activities and then sort of immerse them in everything that we have to offer, including all the fitness and wellness programs, and hopefully convert some or many of those folks to membership.
Absolutely. Why do you feel like the number is so low? Like I know it's at a, like you said, it's more about like an all-time high, but why is it still very low, do you feel like?
There's a lot of reasons, but I can just give you some anecdotal examples. If you're someone who's relatively out of shape and maybe overweight, you don't really feel good about yourself, and you look in the window and you see hard bodies, that's a turnoff.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who uh, hasn't done regular exercise in a long time and you see all those crazy machines in there and you go like, oh my gosh, how would I ever even begin to figure out how to use those things? And I don't want to look foolish when I go in there. And so So that's another reason why people don't go. I think a lot of people feel like that they won't use it enough, and so therefore they don't justify the cost. And and then there's just the person that just doesn't feel comfortable sort of stepping across that line into this environment that they don't really understand. And when I say 75%, I mean it's most people don't feel comfortable in that environment.
Yeah.
And so we're going to try to eliminate as many of those inhibitions as we can, make it very welcoming, have a culture that just is warm and friendly, and everybody knows your name, and you'll want to be there. And then we'll spoon feed you the exercise part as once we get you in.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That is, I feel like personally something that a lot more places like Sozo in the future should focus on, right? More of a welcoming experience rather than, okay, you come here, you're going to see a bunch of meatheads, and when you're trying to either gain weight or lose weight, you have no idea what you're doing. You're already insecure. These people, even if they don't say anything to you, maybe they look at you one wrong way and then it ruins the gym for you forever, right?
Yep,
And
that's
that's
exactly right.
that's not something I've personally experienced. I'm very grateful for that, but I've talked to people many times that have experienced that. Um, I pray every day that those people are more welcome to go to the gym and do whatever they need to do. So you guys having not only exercise portions, but also, the spa therapy, the TED Talks, and just a welcoming experience overall, is definitely, I respect that a lot for sure. So. For those who don't know your background, like whatsoever, what first drew you into this type of work in this specific industry, and what big goals are you focused on right now?
I was a teaching tennis pro at an indoor tennis club in Iowa when I left college to start in this business, and I fully intended to go back to school. I didn't finish. I was a good student. I just needed to make money on the side, and so I started teaching tennis lessons, and I did really well. And one day, the owner of the club came to me and said, "I'm letting go the manager for various reasons, and the members seem to like you. Why don't you be the manager?" And so I was in my early 20s at the time, and I jumped in, feet first, and from then on, I just kept working my way up through the ranks. And so I ended up getting very lucky early in my career, and I got involved with a company called Club Sports International out of Denver, Colorado. They had me leave Iowa and come out there to manage a club for them. And then I ended up working my way up through that organization at some of the really nice athletic clubs that they were building back in the 80s. I ended up managing a club in Vail, Colorado that was brand new. That I was the first manager there. I
Okay.
managed a club in Las Vegas for them for about 5 years. And then I was recruited to Houston to take over what's called the Houstonian Hotel Club and Spa in '93. And that was at the time it was recognized as sort of one of the top two or three clubs in the country. So it was a really great opportunity. And I ended up spending 13 years with that organization. And then from there, I worked in country clubs and served as consultant to several country clubs that were putting in very high-end fitness centers, that sort of thing.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. And I want to touch on just a little point, where a little bit back, several years ago, it would have been, 20 plus years ago, in that position you said you got lucky, right? Now, maybe this position that you were put in was maybe a lot more simple than others could have, achieved it. But do you believe that luck is a true thing, or do you believe you put yourself in the correct position to get lucky?
Yeah, I'd say I believe luck happens when you prepare yourself for the moment, and then the opportunity comes along and you're ready.
Absolutely. Because just like going to the gym or, enjoying, a country club or whatever it is, you're not going to feel good, look good, or do anything if you're just staying home rotting in bed, right?
Yep,
If you put
that's right.
yourself in the position to actually do the things, be around the amenities, be around the gym equipment or the spa or the TED Talks, then you could progress because then you put yourself in a position to be lucky. So then you're more prone to being lucky, right?
I have an important comment to make, and that is that today in today's world, modern medicine is going to keep everyone alive to the time till their 90s or 100. It's not gonna be uncommon in a few short decades from now where everybody's going to be living that long, whether you like it or not. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like that old jalopy in your garage. If you've taken care of it and you change the oil and you keep it washed and clean and painted, and you take care of the upholstery and all those other things to make it look good and drive well, it'll still be a real gem when it gets in its later years. Well, your body is the same way. And so if you don't take care of it and you don't exercise, you don't watch what you eat, you don't form social connections, you're going to reach that last 20 or 30 years of your life and it's going to be miserable. And
Yeah.
and so I kind of get on my soapbox when I have the opportunity and just really try to put that seed in people's minds. And you don't have to be a gym rat, you don't have to go to the gym every day,
Right.
but you have to move. People have to, if you want your body to work in the later years and you want your mind to work, then you got to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. You heard it, everybody. I'd love to hear everybody's like opinion or comments about that. So comment below what you think. I agree completely with what you said. Right? There's people who think that, oh, I'll just live life because I'll be happier than the person who is on a strict diet or strict workout. It doesn't have to be strict, right? It's just a
No.
lifestyle to feel good.
Yep.
And I think once people experience the feeling good aspect of it, they're not going to want to stop leading that healthy lifestyle, right?
Yeah, and that's a fairly significant, subtle but very significant change in the health club world. I think the industry's finally starting to wake up to the fact that what we're trying to do isn't make people aesthetically look good, although that's one of the fringe benefits that you get by being more fit. But what we're really trying to do is make them feel good.
Yeah.
And if you can feel good all the way into your 80s, 90s, hundreds, and you can actually continue to do the things you like to do, maybe you're a golfer and you love to golf. Well, you won't be able to golf when you get to your 80s and 90s if you can't walk.
Yeah.
Maybe you like to play with your grandkids. Well, you're not going to be able to do that either if you can't lift them up because you're too weak because you haven't taken care of yourself. So there's all these things that it's not about necessarily looking like a bodybuilder when you go to the health club. It's really about making yourself feel better in all the types of movements that you're going to need to do just to enjoy life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think there is a lot of people who may look like they're in better shape than people, but truly behind closed doors, the people who don't look the best are actually feeling better than the people that are either, it doesn't matter what aesthetic they look like. They'll go to the gym just to, show off, do whatever they need to do. But I would rather be the person who has, still a decent physique, aesthetic, looks decent, but I'm feeling 10 times better. I got I got red light therapy I can do. I can go lift weights. I can do cardio. I can go swim. I can play pickleball. But then I can go enjoy a TED talk, but actually feel like I'm settling down without like I'm overheating or getting too cold. And there's just so many different possibilities, what people can feel after a workout, before a workout. And I'd rather be the person that feels good for sure. So now, of course, Herb, no path is easy, right? I'm sure everybody watching this knows that as well. You especially, you've had a lot of experience throughout this past, 20, 30 years, or 40 years, right? You said? Yeah. So
Yes.
what were some of the biggest struggles early on and some struggles that you still face to this day in this present moment, as you grow?
In a from the management and leadership perspective, it's all about people, and it keeps repeating itself over the years. For example, if you hire someone out of desperation and they're not the right fit for that particular role or they don't fit your culture, then they're gonna get disillusioned because they're not getting kudos because they're not doing a good job, and so they're miserable. They make the people around them miserable, and all of a sudden now you got a big mess to clean up because you got to let them go and then you got to start all over again. And you get better at that over the years. Hopefully you learn from your mistakes and that kind of thing. But the people side of the business from an employment standpoint is really one of the toughest things in all the years that I've been at this, and it hasn't really changed. It's I feel like I've just gotten smarter about it, much more careful about the sort of the innate qualities that a person comes with, not just about their resume. And then I'd say, in the health club industry, it's not a high margin business. And so that what that means is that you've really got to manage your expenses carefully. And early in my career, I just didn't understand that as well as I do now by far. I mean, cash flow is king. You can have
Yeah,
all the most grandiose plans and visions and uh, you know aspirations, but if you don't have the cash to pay the bills, you're not going to be around for very long. And again, learned a lot of lessons over the years, and so it's positioned me well for where I'm at right now.
yeah, 100%. I'm actually reading a book right now by Dave Ramsey called Build a Business You Love. And it actually talked about yesterday when I was reading it, hiring certain people that not only want to work for you because they believe what you have can succeed, but also align with the vision that you have for it. Not only the money, but also just helping people, long-term vision for it, health, wellness, doesn't matter what it is. And that kind of reminded, when you said that at the beginning, sparked my mind. Everybody has to be aligned. And if you don't have the right people to do that, you're spending too much on them. They're not getting the job done, well, then you just kind of screwed yourself at the end of the day, out of desperation, you know?
You go into most health clubs today, and I visit clubs everywhere I go, and I've been doing it for 40 years. So I go into all of the chains, the franchise facilities, all the boutiques, all the big box clubs. You go into all of them, and you're going to typically get a person at the front desk who's looking at their phone and not paying attention, and just kind of waves you through. And there's no human interaction or connection. You'll run into a trainer in the workout room who doesn't even look at you twice because you're not paying them for their services. So
Yep.
it's kind of like you don't exist. You'll go to a group exercise class and the instructor's more concerned about how getting their workout than they are about the people out in front of them that they're teaching. It's just on and on. And so you have to hire people that really care about serving other people. They've got to have a servant heart, and they've got to be wanting to help others. And if you don't carefully select people for that trait, then you're going to get something that isn't what you wanted.
Absolutely, yeah, because not only can that ruin their reputation, but it could also slightly ruin the whole business's name, reputation, right?
Yeah,
It's like, oh, this place
absolutely.
has this certain people, they just kind of wave me on. They walk by me with no intent. They don't care about me. Oh, I don't want that reputation for my business, right? Nobody does, right? So having people that are actually generous, wise people who actually care about others is a huge aspect, no matter if it's online or in person. People need to focus on that more. So I'm glad we touched on that. Um,
They're harder to find, but they're out there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why vetting when hiring is super important, right? So when I'd love for you to like share a story. I mean, 40 years, that's, 40 years. I'd love for you to share a story of whether it's a client you've seen, a project you've seen, or just a moment where you saw a real breakthrough in either your life, somebody you've worked with, or just anybody, right? Just some real breakthrough in your industry.
Got a couple of them I like to share. One, and I've got a million of them, but
Okay.
one is when I was back in my early tennis teaching days. I was coaching a lot of young players, and several of the players I coached went on to college scholarships in tennis. So I was very successful in bringing people along. And I like to say that what I was able to do was I was able to play to my players' strengths. And so every athlete comes to you with different strengths and weaknesses. And I was able to help them be successful at each step of the way so that they would want more. They'd want to train harder, and they'd look forward to their next match and the next tournament, and they'd be more confident in themselves because of the way I approached their training. And I
Yep.
had an example. I had a young lady that I coached, that was a high school player. She was super dedicated. Like she just trained all the time, and was really diligent about all the things that she was working on. but she couldn't. And she was really good, talented, but she couldn't beat this one girl that was also in the same hometown who actually happened to be the number one player in the state.
Oh my.
And they played each other multiple times over the years, and the girl I was coaching never beat her. And lo and behold, it comes time for the state finals, the state championship, and the two of them are facing each other in the state finals. And my player still hadn't ever beaten her. And before the match, what I said to her was, um, she's never been behind you in a match. She doesn't she you don't know what's going to go on in her mind if you can get ahead. And I said, so no matter what happens, I don't care if you're down 6-0, 5-0, 40 love, you're going to scrap and fight for every point all the way to the finish, because at some point she might start to doubt herself, and she'll be an entirely different player than what you've come to believe. And so she went out there and she fought, and she lost. The girl I was coaching lost the first set, and she was down in the second set. And about midway through the second set, I could just see something come over her where, like, she started thinking that she could win, and her whole persona changed, and she clawed her way back and won a close second set. And then she won the third set, and she won the state championship, beat this girl that she'd never beaten before. And it was all about convincing her as her coach that this is what's going to happen out there, and mentally you can overcome it.
Yeah.
And I believe that you can do it, and you should believe you can do it too. And so how does that translate into my management, my leadership? Every person I've ever had work with me at any of the clubs that I've managed had that same ability in some way. There was something that they were really capable of, something they were really capable of. And what I needed to do as the leader was to help them identify those strengths, and then instead of trying to always work on the things they were weak at, help build them up confidence that if they play to their strengths, they're going to be successful. And then what ends up happening is they see some success, and they're willing to be open minded about learning new things.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's like probably one of the best stories I've heard, right? And just this is like the sixth podcast I've had on this channel. And if anybody want to go watch my other videos and hear some stories, they're great too. But that was really good. I like how, there's I play in a men's rec league for basketball, right? And it's pretty competitive, right? I mean, it's just men's rec league, whatever, but it's very competitive. We have teams, we have score, we have refs, all of that, rewards at the end for championship. And there's this one team that beat us last year. We went 8-2 the whole season. Like it was our first year as a team. And our team, like there's a couple of guys on our team, they're like, oh my gosh, they're so much bigger than us. They're faster, they're more athletic, they're stronger. And I'm like, okay, but we have a better, mentality than, they do. They would always come out on the court, they would be cocky, this and that. And we just shut up. We didn't say anything. I told my team in the huddle before, I was like, listen, like if we stop the one thing that they do the most, if we can stop that one thing, they're not going to know what to do with everything else, right?
Yeah.
Which was if we need to bounce past the ball more because they were taller, and if we threw it overhead passes, they could steal it easier. So let's throw more bounce passes. We have to find a way to, frankly, put your butt into them and get a rebound. And two of our biggest guys on the team started doing that more, and it was a lot closer game, right? And we ended up winning. So um, I like the mentality of things of the mentality aspect of things in every area of life. And I think if you have a better mental state than somebody else, no matter if their physical ability is better than yours, your best physical state can be brought out from the mental, you know. And I'm glad
Yep.
you touched on that as well. I'd love to hear everybody else's thoughts on that as well, or any stories in the comments. That's a great story though. Um, Looking
I
ahead.
have one other one. I have one other one I'll share with you that uh, I think that you'll enjoy, and that is when I was at the Houstonian many years ago. One of the members, who was a university professor, she came to see me one day, and she said, "Mr. Lipsman, my son is special needs, and I'd like to find him a place that he could go to work, so that he'd have some purpose in his life, and he wouldn't just be at home by himself, you know." And she goes, you don't even have to pay him. Like, I'll pay for him. And I said, well, no, if we're going to use him, he's got to be paid. But I'm happy to at least give it a try. Let me bring him on, and I'll see if we can figure out a good spot for him here. And his name was CJ. And CJ was this big, lovable kid, and he was probably in his late teens at the time. And so we took him on and we used him in housekeeping for a while, and then I could see that the staff was really responding well to him. They really liked him, and he really didn't do much work. He was just going along with somebody helping, pick up towels and things of that nature. And eventually we landed on letting him work in the men's locker room. And this was a very expensive club, lots of CEOs and executives and that sort of thing. And what I started to notice was they liked him too. Like he was one of those real cheerful kind of pick me up personalities. And you could tell, I mean, you knew that he had special needs. And so but we make long story short, today is now 30 some years later, CJ's still there.
Oh my gosh.
And he has impacted thousands of members over the years, and he's caused people to be kinder to others and to be more friendly and more warm. And he's just one of those natural personalities. And frankly, he's probably been as important, if not more important, to the success of that club than 90% of the other employees over that period of time.
Right.
And not only did I learn that from CJ, but then I had an experience at another group of clubs that I managed years later, just a few years back. And a father came to me, the same thing, said, "My son's special needs. Can you put him to work?" And his name was Bobby. And I right away, I had my CJ story in my head. I said, "Absolutely, bring him in." And Bobby was the most fun guy to ever be around, and he's still there today. And he works the men's locker room, and every person that comes in that locker room gets a fist pump and "You're the best" from Bobby every day. And so he's lifting people up in their whole psychology every time they come to the gym.
That is amazing. I almost like that one better than the first one you shared. That's just something people need to focus on more is, being kind and having more uplifting, people and spirits around them, especially at the gym. A lot of people go to the gym to not only lead an active and healthy lifestyle, um, but to clear their mind, right? And a
Yep,
lot of a lot of stress and anxieties and whatever can leave the mind at the gym and whatever therapy you can do. And at the end of that, or beginning or middle, if you have somebody like CJ or like Bobby to inspire you to be kind to others or continue to go, man, it brings a level from like 60% all the way to 99%. And that 1% is depending on if you're gonna stay consistent with it. Right. So
yeah,
we for every business owner watching this right now, don't be afraid, or people who hire or whatever, don't be afraid to hire certain people just because they're maybe you think they're going to be lower quality, but yet they're the best employees you will ever have, right?
yep.
Or
They rub off on others. I mean, it causes everybody that works there to change their game.
yeah, for sure. Because it's like if you have CJ and Bobby, but then you have some random guy named John coming in, and John seems to be the best worker of the century or the decade, and it's like CJ and Bobby just top him by 100%, right? You gotta teach John how to do better, man. So I love that for sure. That's awesome. Now, looking ahead 6 to 12 months, I know Sozo Clubs is gonna be huge. I can already feel it. I already see the vision. I see the vision in the background on your screen there. It's just like I look at it every time. I looked at the website probably 2 to 3 different times after I was just checking out things originally. Um, and when I'm older, I'm definitely gonna have to go there because I'm not 30 quite yet. But when I am at that age, I know where I'll be going. Right? What's
Right.
the vision? Like, what's the ultimate vision for sure with Sozo Clubs over the next 6 to 12 months, whether it's in-person stuff or
Well,
like anything?
yeah, we've probably got 2 years before we open our first club. So
Yeah.
so we're right now we're in the fundraising mode. We're getting closer, and once that's all lined up and in place, then we start our formal design work on the clubs, and then the construction. So it's going to be a process. All of us, my co-founders and I have been at this for a long time, and so we've been through this drill a number of times with other companies. And so we're prepared. We know all the steps that we have to take to get it there. And then the ultimate vision is to prove the first couple, and then take this turn it into a national platform, national brand, that we could have clubs in pretty much every market in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you shared that. A lot of people I would ask if they had been if they would be in your position, they would say, "Oh, Jet, we got 2 years till we open. I don't really have any vision for now other than opening." It's like that doesn't make sense, right? Because you have to have a vision for the next 1 month, 2 month, 12 months, 24 months to be able to open, right? So I'm glad you shared that, the fundraising aspect, the vision of the construction and designing and all of that work. Um, and that's an exciting journey for sure. That's almost more exciting than obviously the grand opening is super exciting, but the work that goes into the design of it and the work is just like, that's the true journey. That's what,
Yeah, my a big part of what I'll be doing over the next year anyway, in addition to the fundraising, is building a team and lining up people for all the key positions to get us to have the culture that we want to have from the get-go, so that everybody we bring on after that is gonna fit in with us.
yeah, for sure. That goes back to the vetting thing we talked about earlier, right? We can't just hire anybody and everybody. We need more CJs and Bobbies, right?
Yeah.
Um, Hypothetically, right? And all of your 40 years of doing this and the new business that you guys will be opening here soon, if there was a magic wand that you had, right? I'll just use this, a magic wand. Hypothetically, if you could fix one thing in business right now or the next 2 years that's either holding you and the team back or slowing you down, what would that one thing be?
Honestly, I don't really have it. I I'm confident that we have a secret sauce, kind of a formula that is absolutely going to work. So I don't have really any fears about the operations. Right now, it's I've been an operator my whole career, so the fundraising part of it is a new thing for my co-founders and I, and so we've been drinking through a fire hose over the last 6 months or so to really get ourselves familiar with that whole landscape, and which types of investors to talk to, and how to raise money, and raising the money. And so once we have our financing in place, we're going to be blowing and going. And I don't really have anything that I'm fearful of. I think we're gonna kill it.
That's awesome. I think you guys are as well. I'm excited to not only have you on the podcast, post the podcast, repurpose the content everywhere else so everybody else can see it on multiple platforms. But then look back and be like, I talked to Herb Lipsman, who, is like, it's gonna be awesome. I can already see the vision of it, and I already do. It's a it's a great feeling that I have for you guys already. So I like that you have no doubt of that. I've never really gotten that response. I feel like everybody's always like, this or this or this. And maybe there's a few things along the way that'll be like, okay, this, but you guys are confident with it, which is good, right? That's a good mentality. I like to do a quick fire round with everybody I have on, and even with my
Sure.
friends, family, business owners, entrepreneurs that I meet in person. I like to ask them, like, what's your favorite book or podcast?
Gosh, I've got a lot of favorite books. By the way, I've listened to probably 40 books in the last 8 months.
Oh my gosh,
So
okay.
I listen while I'm doing my workouts. I'm an endurance athlete, and so I'm either running or swimming or biking every day, and so I use that time also to listen to the books that I'm interested in. But one of the really cool ones that's come out not too long ago, it's called Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia, and Outlive is all about the fact that we are going to live to be 100. And so if you want to live vibrantly to the end, then these are the things that you should be paying attention to now. Somebody your age, that
Yeah.
you should be paying attention to these things, so that you uh, manage your biological age in the most effective manner. What that means is, instead of when you're 70 feeling like you're 70, maybe you can be 70 and feel like you're 35.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's awesome.
So that's a really good one. And then there's a new book that just came out that I'll give a plug to. It's uh, by a group of experts in the health club industry, and it's called Beyond Reps. And Casey Conrad, who's a friend of mine, is one of the authors that put this collection of essays together from all these other leaders. and it's basically talking about how the health club industry has to change from being all about physical fitness to instead being about the things I was talking about earlier, social, emotional, mental well-being, and not just hard bodies.
Yeah.
And so I'd encourage your listeners to grab that book. It's brand new. It just came out.
Yeah.
Beyond Reps.
Beyond reps. I don't know. It sounds familiar. I don't know if I'm being biased, but I don't. I think I've seen that. I don't know. It's maybe on Facebook somewhere, but Beyond Reps is how new is it?
Like in the last month or two.
Okay, maybe I haven't then. I thought that I heard about it a while before that, but definitely have to check that out because I like that for sure. It's like you said, more hard, like less hard bodies. It's like cool, like yeah, you could do that, but just the well-being is so much more important, you know. So what's uh what's a myth that you'd love to bust in the health and wellness or fitness industry?
Hmm. Yeah. Let me think about that. I'll come back to that one.
Yeah,
I'm sure that there's some.
this could be I say myth. This could be something that people regularly talk about, whether it's actually, I guess, not a myth, whether it's true or not. Maybe people over exaggerate the truth to where it's actually false, or just something that you wish people knew other than what they hear.
Well, I'll change the question a little bit. I think one of the things that I'd like to see um, changed in the health club industry is the fact that it's been a sales driven industry forever. What I mean by that is you can go into just about any fitness center, any gym, and somebody with a big smiley face will come running up to you and they'll run you around the gym and they'll show you all the features and then they'll sign you up and take your money and then you're on your own. And that's the way it's been for 40, 50 years. And unfortunately, the leaders of most of the big chains of health clubs demand that their people are constantly selling memberships, and so it's basically a sales engine. It's not an actual engine of serving the customer. It's selling the customer, and as the industry shifts to more of a service driven company where we're really trying to help you as a member better your life, then the industry overall is gonna dramatically improve, and we're gonna get a lot higher penetration rate than 25%.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Helping people and caring about people is a lot more important than, just getting the sale and just blowing the person off, right? Just that never made sense to me. Like in my area, we don't have too much of that, but like in bigger cities, I've definitely experienced that. Like I'll go play basketball somewhere. They'll try to sell me on some random stuff that doesn't even interest me, but I could just tell that they're doing it out of their own. I don't know, their own way. They don't care about me. They don't know me. They didn't even ask me my name. Like, so it's like, come on, that's crazy, you know? Um, but yeah, I guess for that kind of just does sum up the question that like the myth thing. I guess it's not a myth. It's very true that it's more of a sales driven industry. And if people would focus on generosity over greediness, I think people would
Yep.
go a lot further. Right?
Yep.
I think that's what you guys will have above everybody else, which will be awesome. So, well, before we wrap everything up, where can people follow, your work or like the journey or learn more or connect with you if they
Yeah,
want?
so I'm on LinkedIn and I post pretty regularly. I like to write about leadership topics and topics of club management, hospitality, and those kind of things. And then our website right now is just a landing page for Sozo, but we're only a few weeks away from launching our website. So it'll have sozoclubs.com will have a lot of information about what we're doing. And as we start to actually develop the first club, we'll start posting pictures of the construction and all that sort of thing as well.
Okay, perfect. And everybody watching right now, I'll put those links in the description to go check them out. You got to do it for sure. It's probably one of the best up and coming things I've seen in like so long of my life. So go check that out, everybody. And if a listener takes just one action from today's conversation, what should it be?
Um, don't mistake kindness for weakness.
Okay. I love it.
I, that was a saying. I got to be friends with President George H.W. Bush when I was at the Estonian. He was a member, and that was one of the things that he was noted for. I've always believed that you can be kind and strong, and as a leader, and too many leaders think they have to be a kind of a hard ass and treat people bad to get where they want to go, and I think just the opposite is true, especially today.
Absolutely. I totally agree. People need to learn to put the ego aside sometimes, no matter what they built, what they've done. We're all human, right?
Yep.
Exactly. Once again, Herb, thanks for getting on. It's been amazing. I'm sure whoever watches this is gonna get excited about SOZO Clubs, but also the takeaways they've gotten. I've gotten some great takeaways. I loved the stories that you shared. I'll have to put that on some like short form content and share it everywhere, right? But for everyone else watching, thanks for coming back to Vorello Vision podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.